Mhm.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to The Narrative. This is Malfunction here from New Zealand. Wherever you are, welcome, and hopefully you're well and you're safe. And I've got a special guest. It was arranged at around midnight, which is only about 12 hours ago, and it was quite cool because it was quite fast, and we were able to do so many different things. And the great thing is today is the first time that Judy has
Yeah.
been on a podcast, even though she's a fan of it. She tells me.
Yay.
So. Um, Judy, introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, and a bit of your background.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. I'm Judy Rogers. I'm known as a steampunk artist. I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. Originally from Melbourne, so came over here 16 years ago now, and
Okay.
Steampunk's a huge part of my lifestyle, basically. Yeah. So this is my livelihood. I'm a full-time artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been recently, just within the last week or so, I noticed a lot of, you're posting a lot of your art that's been sold, which is kind of, all of a sudden it was quite different. Like, is this, do you think, due to the doco that's going around?
Look, I think, I don't know, it may have helped, but look, I'm fortunate enough to have a really strong overseas clientele base, and posting things on Facebook, and I tend to sort of post teasers, like to just let people see that what I'm working on, just to sort of get, and that's why I call it a teaser, just so they can see something and keep an eye on it. And when I say that it's finished, I post it's finished, I get messages saying, how much is it? And yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, I mean, especially at this time now, everybody's come out of this whole 2 years of lockdown, and then we come into inflation, and to see people still interested in art in this way, from all over the world, it just, I think it's such a good thing. How do you feel about that at this time,
Initially, I was a bit worried about COVID. When COVID hit, I was actually I was in a solo exhibit, my first solo exhibition in a gallery, and then COVID, and I was like, oh my God, lucky it didn't impact too much on the sales, but I was worried about coming home and picking up the art online. I was like, no one is going to want to do this, buying. But I had two of my busiest years. Like the first year I sold 63 pieces, and the second, like last year, I sold 68. And I think that was purely because people couldn't go out and they were desperate to, if you're feeling a bit flat and can't go out anywhere and you're not spending money, so why not shop online? And that's what I found. And people were fine about postage, that they didn't complain about that. It was just a matter of spending the money, getting the art over, and having some normality in their lives, after being in lockdown.
It's because what you do is very tactile, and it's like picking up something. By tactile, for those who aren't aware, it's like picking up something, touching it, looking at it, and seeing where the work has gone into putting it all together, what materials are used, and how it's put together. And I think, especially which the art style that you have, when the first time I got in, became aware of steampunk was because of Castle, the TV show, and Nathan Fillion. I'd known about him as the captain of Serenity, the sci-fi show, a couple of years earlier, and so I was really hooked on that show, and just found out it was episode 4, season 3, where they have a whole dedication to the whole genre of the sub genre of pop culture, which is steampunk, and especially the cosplay, the Victorian age, and sort of like jumping, kind of not going to electricity, but going to steampunk. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the cool thing about it is that you know, with steampunk, there's no rules, and that's the thing. You know, you get some real like steampunk people that say, oh, you know, they're quite restricted, but look, I look at it that there aren't rules, and there is a crossover of, you know, cyberpunk and diesel punk and whatever, you know, and conventions that I go to and art that I have produced and seen is that crossover, and that's why I love it so much, because I don't like to conform in any shape or form, inside or outside of my art. So if there's a way that I can express that and just free form, in my happy place. And I think that's why a lot of these shows that you're seeing now have got that steampunk influence, because it's so tantalizingly free, and you know, it draws people in of all ages. I hope
Well, I mean, from my side of things, because you know, I'm into comic books, and in a big way. So, like, you know, you've got something like I was just like sitting there beforehand, like only a couple, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour ago, going, oh, I have this, I have that, I have that, and you know, so I've got like, you know, Lady McKenna, you know.
Oh, look how cool that is!
Yeah,
amazing.
This series here with like awesome artwork, and this came out like, I don't know, maybe about 2015, no, 2013. It's got on there, so you know, got really cool, you know, art in here. Sorry.
Oh, the illustrations are phenomenal, you know, and it, you know what, it, for me, it's the accessories. That's what I absolutely love. And I'm huge with that sort of detail in my work. I love all that. I love the belts, the corset, all the bits and bobs, you know, that's what makes it so personalized. You know, you can create your own look and still be part of the theme.
Do you was it like the cosplay side, or was it the jewelry? I'm sorry, the art side that got you into vice versa?
Oh no, definitely.
What came first?
Definitely the costuming, definitely that. So how it actually came about? I was in a dance troupe, and you know, a lot of the time when you're actually on stage, you have to make your own costumes, because you know we're usually quite poor. we're performers, and we're poor, so we have to make our own costumes. And I, without actually realizing what I was doing, I was putting a steampunk twist on my costumes, having no idea. I didn't even know it was a thing. And one of the teachers said to me, "Oh, your costume looks quite steampunk." And I said to her, what is that, you know? And she said, I can't believe you don't know. Looking at what I'm seeing, I can't believe. She said, go home and look it up. And when I Googled it, I was so surprised, because I thought all of this was in my head, you know. And there it was. And I was like, oh my God, this is really a thing, you know. And it took off from there, and I just expanded on that. But I think from a very, very young age, I was always drawn to the Victorian era in films, and H.G. Wells. I loved those early films, you know, The Time Machine and Journey to the Centre of the Earth. One of my favorites. Absolutely. And I would watch them again and again and again, and I loved the, you know, how ahead of its time was that, you know, the packs and everything, and the clothing and the hats and the gizmos. I loved that, and I guess that always stayed with me, and it carried through with the costuming, and from there I just took that next step, I guess, to the art. Yeah.
I was just trying to remember where I put the H.G. Wells, the cloth bound and 1900 books, 1800 books, whatever. I have somewhere, because my dad used to own it, so I was like, "This is mine." In mine now. So I think this is the great thing about you know, sci-fi, fantasy, the imagination, and just letting yourself, you know, just be free with whatever you're getting involved with.
That's the
And
thing. It is the freedom.
I mean, the other thing I was thinking is Alan Moore, one of the godfathers of comic books, with his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and you see some of the artwork that that you get into that from the Victorian age and stuff. Let me just grab this one up here.
The illustrations are so detailed.
Yeah, it's it's kind of hard to pinpoint, but if you've seen the movie, or if you've seen if you read the book, it's such a
amazing.
And the reason I picked that is because
you see goggles everywhere now. Like you watch even Hollywood movies, they're wearing goggles. Like it's just incorporated in so many things now. How cool is that? Yeah,
I love this. I bought this maybe about 10 years ago or something.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, this is we're talking about historic sci-fi writers like H.G. Wells, and gosh, there's so many of them that were.
Jules Verne, one of my favorites authors.
That's the one I couldn't 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just being able to see into the future. Yeah, we're looking into the past as as artists, as a steampunk artist. You're actually looking into the past and then organizing that into, mixing it up with metals. You work with different types of metals and stuff. What you do. What is it about? How do you get your resources to do all this stuff, and what do you use?
Well, I have to say that's my interpretation of steampunk. Is always I tell people it's the past in the future. So what you touched on there is spot on for me. So as far as the resources go, I work with organic materials. So I'm really big on that. So I don't use any plastics, nasty sort of top. Yeah. I just don't, because I have a bit of a passion about sustainability and recycling. So I love wood. I love wood because it's natural and because it's so, you can change the shape, you can change it into something else. So a big part of what I do is restoring broken things. I love giving new life to things that no one wants. And to me, I'll look at something that's broken, anything like a broken sculptural turtle or something, and I look at it and I know this sounds a bit crazy, but it's like I have a connection with it, and I think, I know this sounds bizarre, but I feel that it's sad because it's been discarded and it's broken, and I just want to wrap it up and give it some love and restore it, and while I'm doing that, have a bit of fun with it, and I might put a rocket on it or put some wings or roller skates or a hat or something really, really quirky. And I don't plan it. It's really, I ad-lib it, and, I'll just keep going until I have a mental, that's it, you've done it, stop. But, I get things from, it's amazing how many people know what I do now, and I don't really search anymore. The pieces come to me. I've got neighbours who find bits and pieces, and the next minute I've got a box on the back doorstep. A neighbour across the road, he's given me so many pieces that I've been able to pull apart and incorporate in my work. So that's what it is now.
So what sort of materials do you use?
I use a lot of metal, and look, I don't know. Yeah, my poor old hands. I had a surgery a few years ago because working with the metal, my hands are my tools basically, and sometimes the metals are really beyond what I should be pushing myself to bend, but I get quite stubborn, and I think no, I want to do this, or so metal, and again, because it's a natural resource, and I think it just goes so well with wood. You know, there's something about it, and it's a whole, you know, it's a whole steampunk thing too, I guess. You can, you know, it's that industrial. It gives it that real mechanical industrial look, you know, and it can make it look. I don't know. Masculine is probably not the right word, because I tend to sort of want to, you know, put a feminine twist on my pieces, but it gives it a real robust sort of look, I guess. Yeah.
So you basically bring like the hardness and the organicness of metal and wood, and then sort of putting a soft edge on it by rebuilding pieces together.
Definitely a softness. Yeah.
So one thing that came to mind was when you're talking about like putting things that are broken together. You know, like because I mean I have a background in ceramics and I still do ceramic sculpture stuff. But like so with the Japanese, they have a thing called raku. You know, where they'll put like gold metallic in the cracks of metal in the cracks to bring out this other form that's like lifting the broken piece, you know, higher up, because it's not it's not worth chucking out.
I can't remember what the technique's called. The Japanese technique where they bring out with the gold, you know. I do ceramics as well, and I make a lot of my characters have hats. Like I make little accessories.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And I work with clay because it's organic. So I belong to an art little formed art group with 3 other girls, and we call ourselves the Clay Club. And we do raku firing and all sorts, and I love working with clay. So and you're right, I do that. So if something breaks, because you know sometimes it comes out of the kiln and you think, oh, you know, it hasn't survived. I don't let that bother me. If something breaks, I believe it's meant to be. So it just puts it on a different journey. And I think, well, I need to highlight this. So I'll use gold buff or a type of paint to actually draw attention to that. So as I said, no rules.
I mean, that's a great thing. Like especially when you're working in so many different what is
mediums?
Not resources, but mediums. That's it. Different mediums. There's no sort of like holding back from what you're doing, because that means that you can actually move from one to the other and bring it all together like you do, incorporate into the piece that you love. Same with you when you're on stage, right? You're bringing in this other piece with your costumes. So
definitely.
How often do you actually, I mean, apart from your art, with the actual cosplay, you know, how often do you, you know, make up new costumes, or do you have like people wanting costumes made by you? You know, etc.
I used to do that. To be honest, I was making costumes and selling them. I have put a stop to that because I'm focused solely on my sculpture art now. But honestly, I have got so many costumes in my studio still in big boxes that I can't part with, because you know you my soul's in there, like with each stitch, you know. So and I love any time there's a dress up, I have friends that come to me, you know, because I can pretty much put anything together with the resources that I have. And I love a dress up theme. Who doesn't? I guess there are people that don't, you know, but I love it. Yeah.
I think if you kind of like have at least once a month or every couple months where you can just let your hair down, as they say, and just, you know, put on a costume and just be silly, and you know, I mean, like locally here, I mean, I'm not sure if they still do it, but I think they should be still doing it. Like I think here in Whangarei at Dickens Inn, they meet every second or once.
That is so cool. Yeah,
so this is when I first heard about it, was in 2015. No, 2015 or 14 when that they had a group here. And so it's an ongoing group.
You can make your own. I've got girlfriends that we get together for afternoon tea parties, and we'll dress in Mad Hatter, you know, whatever. We'll just do our own thing. Sometimes we'll go into the village and we might get some funny looks, but who cares? You know, if there isn't a proposed, you know, get together with cosplayers or steampunkers, I don't let that hold me back. But, you know, I will go to like Thames, all those festivals, of course, and take half a dozen costumes and do all that, you know. But, yeah, I'll just do any opportunity that I can.
Well, I mean, like, for the whole, the big, huge cosplay sort of push that's come out of Japan because of manga and anime has actually pushed like the Western Western comic book industry further into cosplay, bigger than it used to be. So now you have like people all dressing up for Armageddon all across New Zealand, you know, and bringing that to the front, and you have a chance, like, you know, 4 days in Auckland to be dressed up around your friends and you know, get your photo taken. I've got like lots of photos that I've taken with, you know, costumed you know, superheroes and such. And you know, in a few years back, I didn't even know who was who as an anime person. Now I know some of, like,
yes
15% of more than I used to know before. But I think the other side of that is that, like, all these different the reason I was talking about, like, if you make and sell, like, because there's like a industry around that now because of Etsy and stuff like that, where people are actually able to, you know, because of 3D printing and stuff, they're able to actually make it up and then sell it and make, you know, like, you know, especially the last 2 years, there would have been a big boom in that, like in art, you know, because you've had, you know, people from all over the world not able to do what they could, basically stuck at home doing a whole lot of art. And I think that's been probably a positive thing out of all that, is that not only that you know, you're able to connect with buyers, but you also be able to create, to sell things that you didn't think about.
And
so,
the cool, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was going to say, how did you find connecting with your buyers in that sense?
Well, really, I really just use social media. I use Facebook, really, and my buyers are, and funnily enough, they're not really steampunkers, you know. I find that quite bizarre. I think because a lot of steampunk people are quite creative themselves. I've met so many people that say, "Oh yeah, I made this, I made that," you know, and so yeah, I just started promoting myself as much as I could on. I belong to some art groups, and you know, and the work's quite different. It is. There's a lot of obviously there is a lot of steampunk work out there, but my work is different to anything that I have seen, and I think people were quite pleasantly surprised about that. And you know, one thing leads to another, and then the next minute I've got buyers that have collected 10 and 12 pieces. You know, it's so awesome, isn't it? So I love that. I absolutely love that. So social media is my big thing. I'm expanding. My 15-year-old son tells me that, you know, I have to look outside Facebook now because, you know, that's just part of it. So he coaches me. So I'm on YouTube now, and I've started doing TikTok now, which is the whole new thing, I'm told, and Instagram. But the majority of my sales definitely come from Facebook. Yeah, and few local, you know, local galleries here in New Zealand. But the majority of my sales are the US and Canada.
How have you found, like, connecting with, like, people who are just seeing, you know, they're right across the ocean, the other side, you know, and here you are just saying, this is what it looks, these are the materials I'm using. How do you feel about that connection to try to connect with those buyers from overseas?
Do you mean showing the work, or you know?
Yeah, or like just talking through them to, you know, because you're promoting yourself as an artist,
definitely.
Yeah.
It's about building a rapport. It really is building a rapport. And, you know, it's not about so much selling. Yeah, look, okay, I like to sell the work, but I also like to know about the owner, like the buyer, you know, because a creative, you do put your heart and soul into what you create. So it's like giving away one of my babies, you know, like I it's important that I build a rapport with the buyer so that I know that piece is going to someone who's going to love it, you know, and this is what we talk about. And, you know, I've become really quite good friends with a lot of my buyers now through general chit chat. Even if it's not about selling art, we touch base now on things, or they'll message me randomly and say, "Oh, I saw this clock and thought of you." And I've even had buyers from the States send me boxes of old costume jewelry. And one lady sent me an old clock. Cost her a fortune to send it from America, but she sent it to me because she said it means it's had history with her, and she wanted it to go to someone that could put the pieces to good use. How special is that, you know? And it's about building that relationship. It's so important.
I think that's similar to, you know, for myself. I mean, I'm surrounded by stuff. There's like so much stuff in this room that sometimes I trip over it, and I'm like, to get around, I'm moving place to place, and it's like, I know I'm not going to take this with me. There's no way this is ever going to go with me. You know, so I am building this up for somebody else to own, and my whole thing is to make sure that they learn to appreciate what it is now when I'm around them, so that when they own it, they'll be able to appreciate it even more when they have it in their hands. Because I mean, I'm enjoying it for now. You know, I'm enjoying my comics for now, but I mean, there'll come an age that, you know, I don't like selling my own personal comic collections, but there are art that I'll create that are sellable, like comic books, and like I was talking about earlier about ceramics. You know, so if I'm creating my Raku ceramics or sculptures, they're fine. They're just
you're happy to let them go. And people say that, don't you? People often say, "Oh, don't you find it hard to part with something? You know, have you found that?" You know, they'll say, and for me, it's not hard, because it is about that building that relationship up. And look, there are some things I haven't let go of. You know, some pieces I think, "Oh, I'll never sell that." So I hear you.
So which ones do you decide, like, you know, what do you know that you'll keep and what you won't let go of? I know there's like, you know, artists will get emotionally tied to their pieces of work, like the first one, or maybe, you know, that one that really took more effort or didn't take that much effort, but had so much, you know, that came from somewhere you thought, this is the one I want to hold on to. And those other 20 can go. What do you feel like that is?
I sometimes when I finish a piece and there's, you know, it's got that extra wow factor and there's something about it that you can't explain in words, I'll keep it for a while. And I have a little hall table now where I have a few pieces on display, so I will live with them for a while and I can enjoy them. I see them every time I walk past. I give them a bit of a dust, and I can appreciate them. But then sometimes there'll come a point where I just instinctively know that I'm ready to let that particular piece go, because I've enjoyed it for a space of some time, you know, and I have done that in the past. But there is one particular piece that I won't sell, and that's because I incorporated a wristwatch from my late father-in-law. It was after he passed away. My husband and brother-in-law allowed me to go into his shed and take whatever I wanted, and he was a big tinkerer. So, you know, it was, for me, it was like treasure. And I went in there and I took all this stuff, and I was able to make a lamp out of a vintage car. He restored vintage cars, so I made a lamp from a vintage headlamp, you know, a car headlight, and I put the watch in I incorporated the watch. So that's one piece I know I will never, ever let go of. But as far as anything else, you know, I think there's a time, you know, when I have that instinctive release, I'm happy to let it go to the right person.
So, like, have you ever thought, like, okay, this is, you know, you've got, like, let's say 20 patron buyers who have, you know, someone who will love your artwork, and you sort of think that person will like this one, so I'll, you know, offer that up to that specific person. Do you do that sometimes, or
Oh,
is it
yeah.
just whoever?
Oh, yes. I have a constant file, and I call it potential clients. And, you know, you get to know it's all, because, as I said, I've built that rapport up. You get to know what piece will resonate with what buyer. So I have a few loyal clients that I just, while I'm creating it, I think, oh, I just know that such and such will love this piece, you know. So when it's finished, I will reach out to that person and say, I always say, no pressure, but here it is. I'm offering it to you first before I put it out there. And most times I will get the, yes, I'll have it, you know, and that's pretty cool. I get a real thrill out of that, you know. Yeah.
I spent, like, must have been weeks last year painting a plate from one of my characters, this young lady over here, and you know, I did my own version of her, like a chibi version, which is like a Funko, you know, this sort of
Oh, how cool is that?
toy type version.
Oh, yeah.
And because
I know
so
that.
I don't actually really illustrate figures and stuff, so I can do that sort of cute style. So I did one on a plate for the Quarry Great Plate last year, and I spent so much time with it, and I spent like specific paints on it, and it took, you know, layering to get the relief on it, and then it went up for auction on Trade Me, you know, because it was a fundraiser, and I saw it on there and went, I don't really want this to sell to anybody else.
Yeah.
So I actually bought it back.
Oh,
I bought it back, and I'm like, yeah, I might give it to someone as a present someday. And I've thought of someone, but, you know, I want to keep this one piece because it took me weeks. Like, it took about 2, 3, 4 days for each layer of paint to dry properly, so I could layer some more on. And, you know, you had to glow in the dark paint. You had, you know, the actual resin that you use, acrylic resin that raises the paint and thickens it up. But in the end, I was like, nah, one piece has to stay. So,
and have you still got it?
Oh, I have to pick it up. It's, you know, because the lockdown was, you know, it's at the quarry, I mean, at the gallery and stuff like that, in storage. So probably this week I'll pick it up, this coming week. But because I'm making up a new one. So I'm actually, I kind of like started doing a year, each year I try to do a plate for them for fundraiser because it's connection to my, you know, to my community. And so, you know, it helps raise the profile because of what I bring to it from pop culture side of things. But also, you know, being able to showcase the other side of comic books and that environment, you know, because I mean, you know, if you look back, I think it was like the, gosh, what's his name? The can guy, you know, and he took a
Andy Warhol.
So, you know, he made.
Is that who you're talking about? Campbell's Tomato Soup, Andy Warhol. Yeah,
that's it. So yeah, the can guy, Andy Warhol. So, you know, if you remember that piece of like a panel of from a comic book, from a $2 comic book that he repainted into a larger thing and sold for millions on the back of somebody else's art.
Amazing pop artist.
So it's kind of like sort of showing that, like, just because it's in a, you know, it's in a printable form and sold very cheaply. I mean, it's at the moment it's not very cheap, but it's the price of paper and all that rises up. But the older ones are quite expensive. You know, over time they get damaged, they get lost.
Yeah.
landfilled and so on. But I mean, to see sort of like the comics sort of art form come back into the galleries is really awesome, And then how did you find like having seen steampunk work in galleries where they're selling all this, expensive work that, those big name people have their work in, and here's you who's only been doing it for a few years now, and I'm getting to it, which we're going to have a documentary made about them.
Okay, yeah. So look, I approached, because a lot of galleries, they're funny about steampunk, particularly if they're painting, if they've got canvases, or they might have some ceramics, Steampunk can be a little bit out there for some of the galleries, So I literally went to galleries physically with pieces in my hand saying, here it is, and that was really hard to do, because you get knockbacks, and I just thought, no, it's okay, and I'm very, very grateful that our where I live, we have a local community gallery, and I volunteer there once a week, and they embraced my work, and it was from there that I had my very first exhibition, because as I said back then, the galleries just wouldn't go anywhere near me. I had I had nothing to show that this is who I am. This is what they just weren't interested. So, taking baby steps, and that's what it was, and being very determined and always optimistic. I just thought, no, I'll start here. And that's where it was. I put my work in there. But more and more now, I do see steampunk art mixed in with canvases and ceramic and glass and, all of that. It's a little bit more acceptable now, and people, gallery owners, aren't so scared to, to try it, especially in quite quirky areas. If you go out suburbs, they're a little bit more alternative. That's a real tap into that market, that's what I found. Yeah, but you got to try, don't you? It's just that's what it's about.
I mean, the other thing I was thinking is like usually galleries are looking at like, what school did you go to, to learn your art, and do you know how to speak the art terminology? Can you explain why this works? I was actually talking about that with my with a friend of mine this week who I went to art school with up here, and I said to him, look, man, why what they do is different to say somebody like a polytech or a university, which is the design school and which is an engine room, is that it's a practical thing. It's
yes.
Here's the material. Yeah. Here's what we're going to tell you what's on the curriculum. Work on the curriculum and with the assignment and with what what you're thinking in your head. If you're into pop culture, then bring that into it. If you're into gaming, bring that into it. If you're into costume making, bring that into it. Especially with the Benina coming up in October, I think it's up here. That sort of side. And I said, like, when I was at even at film school, but when I was at doing my applied arts course, I was like, just let me make my stuff.
Yes.
Leave me alone. Just let me tell me what materials I can use. Yeah, show me how it's done, what materials I need to put together. I'm not here to write things down about why I make stuff, because then my focus is confused. Trying to explain why I do this. And it's the great thing about that is like, especially if you're into sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that, you're sort of, like we were just saying before came on, that like when you're an artist, you just do stuff, and you just take whatever you can and you make, and it doesn't matter what it is, and as long as it's something that's a tool or the resources you want to use for it. How did you find like dealing with did you face anything like, you don't have a history of that qualification?
I did. And the saddest thing for me, and look, I do believe that things happen for a reason, for growth. And I can remember very early on, my very, very first time I put my work into one of the biggest New Zealand exhibitions here. I put my work out. I only put 3 pieces in, but I overheard some people talking about, that artist, well, she's not qualified, so, and I mean, I was taken back by that. I thought, oh my God, I don't have a piece of paper. I don't have a degree. I'm self-taught. And I can remember coming home and talking to my husband about it. And he said, just, don't worry about that. And I generally don't care what anybody thinks, but it did take me back a bit. And I had to really analyze that. And I thought, you know what? Not everybody that sings has taken singing lessons. Not everybody that plays a guitar or a piano has learnt from a teacher. And thinking that way just made me sort of step up. I thought, no, I'm owning this. And I'm the first one to tell people now I'm self-taught. And I'm proud of that, actually. Good on you. I praise anyone and credit to them if they've studied and got their degree. That is absolutely fantastic. I didn't. And I just went straight into the practical. Like you said, I didn't have to worry about the whole writing down and doing the theory. So, yes, I have faced that. And I still face that. There are still those prejudices, I guess, in certain galleries or certain circles, and I don't care. I'm not in those circles. I don't want to be in those circles. I'm just happy to just free form and do what I do because of the passion and not because of the piece of paper.
It reminds me of Groucho Marx. Was it like Groucho Marx who said, if a club wants me, that's not the club I want to be in. Yeah. The one I think that's the quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's the punk attitude. It's like basically, and this is my thing as well, where because I grew up with torn jeans, studs and all that, colored hair, and in the 80s and 90s, and it's like, I'm not gonna do what you tell me. I'm just gonna do what I feel about what I'm doing is working or not. But I think at the moment it's come to where you got to put the piece of paper, and now you got people with $200,000 pieces of paper that they can't get any work. But they can't pay it off. I mean, I got that way when I did my when I think I didn't even finish my certificate in applied arts because I'd spent so much time making stuff that I didn't spend time, doing the paperwork. And then I went and worked. I worked, and then I it was like I felt better working, and then I could make what I wanted, painted and gave away paintings and stuff. And then I did stage work and did silly, lots of different things, and then went to film school because I said, I'm going to make a film. That's all I'm going there for. And I must, and that's when I actually got a piece of paperwork that said I actually did that because I had a real proper aim for that. But I think when I just fall back and go, I can now go draw or I can write, because all I want to do is to tell stories. I don't need a degree to tell stories, even though it helped to learn the structure. But I was doing that even before I went there because I was doing stage and writing stage things without the paperwork. So I think there is that both sides of things, and I think it's your passion, really, isn't it? So how do you, having dealt with that, how do you keep up your passion for, coming up with new ideas? And is it like you said, you connect with the piece and you see, how do I put it together? Where do you think that comes from in you?
I think, I never knew what it was when you hear, how you hear that term when writers get writer's block. I never knew what that meant until I started creating, because you have those moments, hey, where you just think, okay, I've lost my mojo a little bit, you know, and
Mm, mm.
it happens. And I think it's all part of the flow of life. You know, there's ups, there's downs, there's moments where you plateau. And
Yeah,
I'm very good at allowing myself to have downtime.
yeah,
Because I don't believe in creating if it's not coming from the heart.
mm,
And there are times when I have not gone to my studio for weeks. I haven't,
yeah,
because I haven't felt the flow. I've got half finished pieces up there that I've stopped working on because I've hit a bit of a block. Like, oh, there's something I want to do with it, but I'm not sure what that is yet. So I will do other things. I'll take myself off to the movies. I will watch TV. I'll watch. I love watching movies, particularly old movies, like, you know, inspired,
yeah.
like we were talking about. I don't have a problem with that, you know. And when the time is right, I will go back to the studio, and then I don't want to come out of it. So, you know, then I forget to eat because I'm like, oh God, I've been here for 6 hours, and oh, I have to, you
Yeah.
know. So that's part of it. It's the up and the down, and but you know, accepting that there are going to be moments when you know, it's not pouring out, you know. Yeah,
Mm.
you've got to be true to that, I think, because if you try and force creativity, I don't believe, well, I believe it reflects in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of, because I mainly write and design, you know, stuff, I kind of like move from one project to another project. So at the
Yeah.
moment there's 5 projects, but they're 5 different projects. So there's one like a supernatural horror, there's like a superhero one, and there's another one. I think I'm doing a mythical, like
Oh, nice.
fantasy, you know,
Yep.
world of monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
Are they all at the same
it's
time? So
it,
do you have all of those going at the same time, or do
yeah,
you start
I sort
one
of
and
like,
finish?
it's like I'll do a page and I'll move over to, and I'll go,
Yeah.
I can't come up with anything else here, so I'll go into
Yeah.
the next one, and then
Yeah.
I go, don't have anything. So you know, last night, like the last 2 days, I've been designing a logo for the actual book without writing
Yeah.
the book. So
Yeah.
you know, like the logo for the title of the you know, like, you know, so you got something like, say, where are we? This one here. So you're designing the logo like that, special for a book, you know,
Oh.
for a comic book, and then going online seeing that's sort of the character I'm after. And so I
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't have that sort of blocks, but I was thinking about ceramics. I've got 4 big, huge pieces that I haven't touched
Mm.
since
I can.
2018,
Oh,
and I have to
okay.
do
That's
about,
a bit longer than I
you know,
usually
and
do, but yeah, yeah.
and so I have, they're carved pieces, 3D carved pieces with hollow inside, but they, I need a specific time for that to happen. You know, I
Yeah,
can
I
just go and get a
totally
block
relate.
of, yeah, I can just go and get a block of ceramic and, you know, clay and just start working. But
Yeah.
the thing is that that'll take away from from comic book work. And
Mm.
so because I find it, because I'm doing like 10, 20 different things at the same time, I don't get blocked. And I
Okay.
think, but I do kind of feel like the story, like for me, I'll sometimes be able to write 24 pages, boom, and then I'll be
Wow.
stuck. And then
Okay.
I'll have to get myself to move on to the next. So I've trained myself to jump from one project to another project. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
allows me to be fresh. So
Yeah.
because I'll be sitting and watching a cartoon. This is how I fix myself with blocks. So I'll be watching a cartoon, you know, a dialogue will come in my head. So I'll
Right.
quickly turn off pause the cartoon
Yeah.
and go and do the dialogue and go, and then I'll find myself writing a whole page, and I'll return and get around watching, because
Okay. Yeah.
my workshop is in my home,
Yeah.
and so everything's there in my apartment. But I think having a specific workshop, because you work with tools and stuff, and you work
Mm.
with different materials, whereas I just jump on the computer and I'm done,
Yeah.
and or so how does that work for you, having to actually having a actual space to work in,
Mm.
apart from being someone like me who's like tapping away on a keyboard?
Yeah. It's surprising how hard it is to actually take myself out of the home and go into my studio, which is in the same home. It's in my attic, so I have to literally pull the ladder down, one of those attic style ladders, and physically go up there. Sometimes it's really hard to do. You know, if I'm not feeling it, I'll get what's it called? Task aversion, you know, where I'll think, oh, I'll just have to do this first or whatever, because
And
I'm
you'll
not
get distracted.
You know. Yeah, but I'll make myself get distracted sometimes, you know. Sometimes it can be hard. But you know, it's those times when I will take myself away from it. And often if I'm out, I'll see something and I'm actually, I think I'm not creating, but I'll see something and think, oh, that would make a really good ray gun, you know, or something, you know. So even though I'm not physically creating, I'm creating in my head, you know, ideas and inspirations. So I guess you never really switch it off. Hence us both being awake at 12:30 this morning, you know.
Yeah.
I sometimes and you were obviously the same because we were both awake at the same time.
Well, I mean, I found myself, like, some days I'm up for 48 hours. And like yesterday was a thing. It's like I slept for about 5 hours in the afternoon after realizing that, hey, I haven't slept since Tuesday.
I
Because
know.
I'm jumping from thing to thing.
That we can do that, hey, because we work from home.
Yeah.
But I go through those phases when I'm at a real creative peak where I've got that many ideas, or I have to get up in the night and jump on my computer and start writing my ideas down, and because I think I can't forget this is too good, you know, I have to get it down, and then I get excited. So doing that at, you know, 2 a.m. or whatever, I'm so excited by the concept, think, oh, well, that's it now, I'm not going to sleep, and it rolls into the next day, and then so that part of it's hard, but when you have that inspiration, that fuels you, you know. So then after that peak, then I will crash and burn for a while, you know, particularly if it's consecutive nights of no sleep. It's funny, isn't it? But I think that's just the creative, how a creative mind works.
I think it's something that I don't want to say non-creative, but people that actually don't have that mental, like the brain work that way. That, you know, the brain doesn't work that way. Don't understand is that, like, you can basically have the very, very high creativity, and you have a very, very low. I mean, I've had to I was thinking about this like 4 o'clock this morning. Like I was, and I was like, I've had to teach myself don't go that low, or take myself out of that low after I've been through this whole energy burst. Because like yesterday we were doing this fundraiser thing, and I was like, oh, this is just so hard. And then like it was just like, you know, if like say about 5 years ago even, I would have been so depressed, like seriously depressed, because I hadn't learned the tricks that I've been able to teach myself the last 4 years. So like 5 years I should say, because I hadn't learned how to find what makes me happy.
Okay.
You know, like people say, "Oh, find your happiness," and you know, and you don't have to. You don't have to worry about anything once you find your happiness. I was like, I had to find my happiness, and I found that like art and music made me happy. And so once I found my happy, I don't have to worry about getting the lows ever. Even though you get the low, you don't get the low lows.
Oh, not the really low. Yeah. And you know,
so that's.
It's part for me. I think it's cheaper than therapy. That's what I tell people. Creating, you know, it is. It's certainly my happy place too. And some people don't have that. So, you know, we're really fortunate that we can find it, and keeping a toolbox. So that's how I think of it. So, you know now what to draw on to not allow yourself spiral. And I've got those tools, and I'm very good at, as I said, recognizing them at that time and acting on it.
For me, like it's like the other thing I just thought of was like, the kinetic.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's a visual thing. Like so, like I need to see colorful visual things when I'm down. I need to see them. Like I was saying, like last night I felt a bit down because there's so much going on. So I decided I need comedy. I need comedy,
Yeah. Oh,
cartoon
yeah.
comedies.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
You
that
know,
is
so
so
you know,
true. So true.
so
And there's places, corporate places, in Japan give laughter classes. They do laughter classes
yeah,
because their corporates were so strung out. It is important to watch comedy. I turn to comedies and
yeah,
musicals and bright costume films, and
yeah,
also dress a certain way, to put that on myself. Although
yeah,
today I'm wearing black, I don't normally wear black. I'm usually in quite bright colours,
yeah,
and throw my hair up and usually put a flower in or something just to feel, so that actually, that brightness and that color becomes part of my being. It's
yeah.
so important.
Yeah, you sort of are trying to draw in like your own happiness around you, I think, and then you're able to create because you're in a, it's the thing. It's like you're saying about having a block because you're trying to
Mm.
get to a place where you actually it flows out. The energy or the passion you have flows out. But then you don't have a block, or that the block is not so long. Like if you have the low lows, the block can be for months. But if you
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah,
learn,
people say
yeah, if
that.
you I remember, I think I had a block of maybe about 3 years because I
Oh
got so
my
depressed at
goodness.
one
Oh
point.
my
So
goodness.
it was like I would write a piece, like I'd write a page, and that will be it. And now, I can just boom, boom, boom. But one of the things I was thinking about, like when we were talking about that, like I remember having a dream where, because I taught myself how to lucid dream. So
Oh
one of them
yes.
was where I was in a place, a steampunk era, right? And so I decided I like each night I had a dream. I put these, like I wrote down what the dream was, and it was different stages and different, like it would be a future with balloons,
That is so
and just
cool.
no planes or anything like that. And
Yeah.
then you've got like something where you're back in Victorian age with like Jack the Ripper, and you sort
Yeah.
of, there was a story where there's like somebody had written a story about the time traveling serial killer kind of thing, around the whole, you know, um, Jack the Ripper storyline. Do you we're talking about Victorian age and stuff. Like, do you watch like have you seen Peaky Blinders and stuff like that? Like, I think it's just after the Steam era, or is it close to the Steam era?
Peaky Blinders was around 1920s, that Roaring Twenties
So bit
era.
after, yeah,
I have watched it. If you can get past it's quite brutal, but it's all about acting,
yeah,
Yeah, I loved all that. I loved it. That's that form of creativity, that the genius that goes into creating that dialogue and
yeah,
how well it's directed. I'll watch
yeah,
anything if it's acted well and directed well, which is why I don't generally like mushy, horrible romance chick flick things, because they're
yeah,
terrible, so badly done. So, and the other great one that we loved was Sons of Anarchy. That's, along that same
yes.
sort of
I
brilliant,
never thought I'd
brilliant.
love that. Yeah,
I
I
didn't think
never,
so
I like
either. It's
my
so well.
my mother had seen it, like she loved it, and it was already over by the time I got into it, and I binged all
Yeah,
8 seasons. This is when I was,
yeah,
where I had my 3 years of depression. So
yeah.
I just binged the entire thing, and I think by the time I'd finished that whole thing, I I I don't know what it was. I felt better because the
Yeah, yeah.
story,
There was a
it,
closure.
it,
Yeah,
it was
it
such
was
a
so
good,
well done.
it was a good
So
ride.
well done. Yeah, it was well done. But
Working the pun, but like,
you would probably, and my favourite one of all time was Game of Thrones, which, come on, you have to love that with all the costumes and the
I did
theatre,
until around the
cinematography.
ending. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It took me a while actually, because we didn't get into it when everyone else was. but it was quite, it was quite complex that I had to write down, the different houses and the kingdoms, the different kingdoms, and because it was.
You didn't get the books.
Yeah, I didn't actually read the books. Sorry to say, but they're probably better. But when I was watching it, I was getting so swept up in the costumes and the cinematography and the sets that I was losing track of what was happening. That they're great art forms. So that's love it. Love it.
Costume. I mean, they have awards for costumes alone in cinema now. So I mean, they've had it for years, or decades, I should say. Which kind of reminds me of like, with a workshop, and like we were talking about earlier about the steampunk guns and stuff.
Yes.
They sort of like did their own thing, which kind of like came out of there. I think it was Dr. I can't remember exact something about Dr. Doolittle or Doubt It or something like that. And they did a range of just the guns a few years ago.
Really?
That had them
I didn't know
at
that.
Armageddon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think it was like actual. It was from Weta Workshop, but it was a specific person that was creating them.
Really?
And so that sort of pushed like the design further up. What was I thinking? I was thinking of that those cars, the moving cities, the mobile city or something like that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about us in New Zealand, I think, is that there is a variety of talent and creativity and a do-it-yourself that I don't think we see that much as we see here in New Zealand, I think.
Yeah.
Have you found that?
Definitely.
Because you've been here since 16 years.
And the steampunkers, everybody makes their own stuff, costumes, and so many groups out there of DIY steampunk. Huge in New Zealand. Like when I was in Melbourne, I wasn't into this form of creativity, so I'm not quite sure about that side of it. But I think Kiwis generally are quite conservative, in my opinion, compared to the Australians. Okay, so I'm from Melbourne, but I find that put them in a costume and there's no holding back, because they can put that mask on, can't they? So they take on a different persona. And the Kiwis love it. They just love that whole, and that's why, Oamaru, I don't know if you knew that, Oamaru is the global capital of steampunk.
Is that Thames?
Know that. What's that?
Is that Thames?
Not Thames. Thames has got a festival, but Oamaru is actually the steampunk capital in the world. Wow. So people, a lot of groups overseas aspire to come to New Zealand for that reason, and that's pretty amazing. And touching on, we were talking briefly, fortunate enough to meet these filmmakers, and they made this film, and we based it around that, about Oamaru having that draw. That's huge for New Zealand, and we should feel very proud of that. Very proud of that.
Exactly.
At any given time, I'm told, because I've never been, any given time, if you go to Oamaru, you'll find people dressed in steampunk. How amazing! Awesome. I love that. Yeah.
I mean, if I was like the mayor or whoever runs the place or in charge of the place, I would do everything in my power to make everybody in the world aware of that. I would be putting it on stamps, on postcards.
That's massive.
Commemorative coins, everything to just say, I went to Oamaru.
Yeah.
And here's a corner came back. You could look the whole industry, and this is what I think that's a great thing that that should happen in any place that's has a bit of an art base, is to have the council support, the people support, because it means that tourism dollars come there, and I think that's a side of that. There's a misunderstanding about what is actual tourism in the now compared to what it was before.
Yeah.
Now people want to experience things. Before it
Yeah.
was like, yeah, we just pass it, we want to see that place because of that mountain or that waterfall. But now we want to see who are the people in your neighborhood, kind of thing, What are they doing here? What's special about the people here? What are your galleries like? And so if you're like pushing that to the forefront, then you got to, you realize that like, okay, now we can have art tours, but that's just one aspect. Then you got people who buy those arts. Now you're supporting your community artists, but while they're talking, they're going out to have a coffee. Now they're going to have a food, right?
Yeah,
all the other things. And that's something that I've really thought about over the last few years about how to actually change the way people see pop culture and how they see, cosplay and all these other sort of things that, that is different to what tourism have thought to be, like food and beverage, tourism. We're going to take you, we're going to take you from this ride to that ride, go on the boat, kind of thing. That's fine if but that's one aspect of it. Now it's like, what are we going to do next time we go to New Zealand for holiday?
There's different layers. Heaps and heaps of different layers. And years ago, I can remember telling people, oh, I do steampunk art, and they'd go, what? What's that? What's that? A lot of people didn't know what it was. Now everyone knows what it is. Everyone knows it. And the next thing that they usually say to me is, oh, have you been to Oamaru? So it's put Oamaru on the map for New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, years ago, who knew? I'd never heard of Oamaru, so that's been huge.
I have heard of it, like, but I think because I always thought it wasn't thing, Thames, right? So that's why I always thought like that's where it is. It's always there, and because of festival. But I think the other thing that, like, I mean, like when I was looking at this, the castle, talking about like 2009, I think it was. Let me just pop this up here. Yeah, so 2009 is when that episode. Nope, 2000 and where are we? Season 3. 2010 it came out. So you're looking at about, 12 years ago.
Okay, gosh,
yeah. So you look at almost like a half a generation, I guess, of people who've watched our age group have watched that and watched 10 years of that. And, I could remember, and I've only seen one whole, those 10 seasons. I haven't gone back to it ever again. But I could, having talked to you, I remember that episode, and I can tell you that was, that episode, I remember that very well.
It resonated.
And and I had to rewatch it just before and to get figure if I understood it was the same thing. But the other thing is like that those people who've watched that show at that time got to experience what steampunk was.
Yeah,
it's a lot like people in the last maybe 10 years as well, where the pop culture side and comics came out, where people dressed up as costumed heroes and lived that lifestyle as well. So you had the steampunk, and then you had the comic book characters at the same time that, like, Big Bang Theory came out. So you got to learn about nerds, and you saw what the nerds were into. And, and then you sort of, now it's to the forefront. So everybody knows what comic books, superheroes are, and so on.
And the nerds are cool now.
Which is kind of, I'd rather we were still, it's fun and then it's not fun. It's like everybody wants to be a nerd now. It's like,
that's
before it was like you get beaten up. Before you used to get beaten up for being a nerd.
Yeah, that's right. It's totally changed culturally. Yeah, it has.
Which is a good thing, because now, like, you kind of like don't get beaten up, but now you can't actually enjoy your stuff because everybody thinks they know everything about it.
Yeah, and I've never liked doing or being what the mainstream does, or so I think, oh God, now that I'm into something, everyone's into it, so But yeah, that's
Well, I
just
mean,
that's
for like on our comic book side, buying the comic that you want or trying to fill a list has become a very expensive commitment, because whereas before you could buy it for $2-3, now you got to pay about $20-30 for it.
oh, is
You know,
yeah, okay,
because
wow,
now everybody wants that issue to complete
yeah,
their set. Now you have like 100,000 people, whereas before you had 100 people. You know,
yeah,
in it.
yeah.
So there's a cost to that. So talking about that, with the actual, with steampunk, have you found like with the demand, for the actual artwork has grown up in that time because of this whole popularity, and also about the costume side of things? Do you think you get more people approaching you about getting design ideas, or where to get resources from, or a shop that you've found things from, or a op shop that you found things from, and such? Do people come to you and go, well, there's a bit more now than say 5 years ago when you got into it?
Yeah, people, it's definitely, people know that, and people are aware of it. They see things, particularly you mentioned op shops. I get a lot of my materials from op shops, particularly leather. Like I'll buy old boots or something, the worse condition the boot, the better, because it means the leather's worn. And random people will say, oh, did you see that? There's such and such that op shop, or that, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but really I don't need any more stuff because I've got too much stuff as it is, yeah, so it's definitely it's changed. The demand, I think, as people have, because people see more of it now and they recognize what it is. It's made it more desirable, I guess, for people, and the costumes too. I'd say to people now, no, look, I'm not, I still get asked to do costumes, but it's just, and I can't do it because, I can't do it if the passion's not there. So I just, say, sorry, there's enough out there now where, to go somewhere else.
I was thinking, like, would it take you longer to do that because you got to refine all the resources for it, whereas you already have your passion with your resources for your art is already there, and you already have your workshop. You don't have to go around and find all these things because you already have that, and it kind of feels, you don't have to go running around doing the treasure hunt thing.
I've pretty much got, whether I did costuming now or steampunk art, I've probably got enough of resources on both sides that I can still, I can't let go of I just can't let go of things. I've got boxes and boxes of trims and fabrics, and that I just think, well, an event might come up that I can make a costume. Like if it's for me, and there's an event, I'll find that passion, to make, get the sewing machine out. But I don't generally, and I've got so much stuff. Honestly, sometimes I can barely take a step. I just end up working with stuff all around me, and I've got a huge big workbench, and when I'm working and I'm in the flow of it, my space becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and then I'm just pushing, literally pushing things away, and I think, I should put that away, but I just have to go with it. And it's I think it's something that, it's just that creative mind, how it works. It's messy. I'm very, very, very messy creator, but very anally clean and tidy when I'm not in the studio. So it's a bit weird.
I'm looking right in front of me. There's comics, there's boxes of toys, there's DVDs, there's a cabinet of Batman stuff, there's cabinet over here, and there's all these, toys over here, there's comics over here, there's toys over there. And it's like, my little corner over there's my bed. It's like,
cool.
But you're right. So that's the artist's mind. It's like, it seems like because you're eclectic, your creativity is flowing all the time, and you're like we were talking about earlier about how, like, you could get an idea in the middle of the night, and you're jotting it down, and it's not like having a 9 to 5 job where you just basically that's where my brain is on and off. That's it, and then you go home and you go. Whereas like I mean, like I sometimes wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning after I've only been sleeping for about 3 hours or 2 hours. And it's like, I've just had a dream. Yes, I need to remember that dream because I can turn it into a story.
Yeah.
Whereas you'll be thinking, I think
definitely.
So how often do you, how long does it take to finish a piece, depending on the size?
I'm off. That's one of the most asked questions, isn't it? How long does it take you? And I answer it in the same way. It can take me anywhere from, a day or two to a good 12 months. It depends. Because if I'm working on something and it's all there and the flow's there and every single piece I put my hand on works, like if I'm making a ray gun for an owl, say, and I picked that up. Yep, that works. No, that doesn't work. Sometimes it almost creates itself. And that's when the magic happens, where it's like what's in my head comes to fruition because I found that propeller, or I found that piece of metal that I can put together, and it's easy. Other times, not so easy. And because I don't draw anything and I don't plan anything, I can't see it. So I'm just relying on not even an image in my head. It's just a concept. So sometimes that concept can get lost or warped because I haven't found the right piece. So, and it's not necessarily to do with size. A small piece can take me just as long, until I get that mental, that's it, it's done. And a large piece can be like easy. Yep, I can create it really quickly because the flow is just pouring out, and I love it when that happens. Yeah, doesn't always. But.
One of the things I was thinking about was now that your work is online over the last 2 years, really, because of lockdown and stuff, and you've had to go digital quite a lot because of that. Now, how have you run into any art theft based on the look of your work?
You mean people copying? Oh yeah, I really hate that. And I've had people ask, and I don't give away, why would you as an artist? You can't, that's so like selling your soul, you can't. I'm happy to help people to be inspired, but when you get people that ask, how did you do that? I hold certain things close because I think, well, you know what? I've gone through blood, sweat and tears to work that out. I've made multiple mistakes. I've had hand surgery. I've done, and I'm not about to give it away. So you do have to hold your craft quite close. Certain platforms, which I won't mention, I don't use because I think they're just a platform for people to copy. And I just think, no, there's no way I'm putting my work out there. And then other people say, oh, the moment your work is copied, that's when you should feel flattered. But I don't look at it like that at all. And this is what I mean about always learning. And I consider every day is an opportunity for me to learn something. And I can remember I put my work into an exhibition, and I went and visited whilst the exhibition was on, and I came across a lamp that was made by a jeweler, and the lamp looked so much like my work. I was absolutely taken back, and I was like, oh my God, I knew of this person because, Facebook, you friends, and okay, yes, obviously this person's been looking at my work. I was so upset, and I can remember going into the car park and ringing my husband and telling him how. I said, "Oh my God, the work's been copied," and he said, "Okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle it?" And I was, I was too emotional. I was really, really. I felt like someone had robbed me. He said, "Okay, it's your opportunity to go a step up," and I tell you what, I came back with that situation with creating the most intricate, complicated lamp that I have not replicated because it was so hard to do, but it pushed me to not feel defeated. And I loved it. I sold that piece and really didn't want to sell it because it was so incredible. But that was my learning. That was my learning. Someone copied it. So what am I going to do? Next time I will, make it harder for someone to copy. And to be honest, that's why when you look at my work, a lot of it is incredibly detailed. There is the most intricate little, sometimes on a tiny little area, it could take me hours because I'm working with tiny weeny little watch parts that I've pulled apart, and I'm using a toothpick with beeswax on the end to pick up the pieces. That's how tiny they are, and I do that on purpose because it's not only I love working in miniature because they mentally they say that's a good space for you to be in, to be working on tiny things, but I also do it because I think, well, try and copy that.
It reminds me of, like, is it Thailand or is it Singapore where they do like little very, very tiny like carvings, like really like not even that, like actual like big pieces of wood, but they're really detailed. Like I've seen like coffee tables where you just look into it, it's like a whole scenery carved.
Amazing. And it's finding the moments of peace. When I'm working in the small little detail, I'm in such a Zen mode. It's like a form of meditation. It's quite hard to explain. But I have spoken to other artists about it and they get it. Whereas when I'm working on something really big, it's like physical and it's big and it's like clunky and it's, but when it's zeroed into something that's so tiny, it takes such care and being so precise that I feel like sometimes like I have to remember to breathe,
I fully understand. I I get into this mood like I think yesterday I had like a piece of cake and a coffee and just like all like V drink and water and that's all I had. And that was it. Like for a 24-hour period, I was like, I'm so like doing 10,000 things. And then like I go, you know what? I'll just go and do this logo.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wanted to do the specific style because I'd already done it. Like I had the basic outline. Then I was like, I spent 20 minutes and half an hour on Google trying to find out how to make it look 3D.
Oh, okay.
Because the software I use, which is especially for comics and manga, called Clip Studio Paint, it's not like Illustrator or Photoshop, which has it all built in, and it's very expensive, right? Whereas this, especially for comics, you can do the lettering, you can do the coloring, you can do the animations and all that. But like, so I watched so many different videos trying to find it, and then I found one. And it was like, you had to do about 10 to 20 different layers each, like moving like a tiny millimeter, 1, 2, 3, click down to get that little shadow so it could be 3D. I'll post it up later because it's like, I did this whole stages. And it's like just getting this right and going, now I am happy with this logo.
Yes, I totally get that. Yeah, it's getting that, yes, I've done it feeling.
And then actually learning from another person because this side of thing is just text. It's not like actually you know, actually doing art itself, but it's design, which is not like, you know, when you're not, I'm not selling the logo, you know, and not because I'm just selling, you know, it's kind of weird because I mean, then if I see that logo, which just reminded me that someone had actually done that, and stolen a logo from
Oh,
a American comic book for
mm,
a Indian made in Bollywood movie, I
oh
think it was called, and
no.
it's a show that's coming. There's a show that's coming out. I'll show you the actual thing. I actually am
I
supposed to be
just
doing a little podcast about it soon. Here it is. I knew I had it out. So this is it. Here, there's a new TV show that's going to be coming out. It's being made right now called Paper Girls.
Paper Girls.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's this one's worth about $400. Just that one on its own, the first issue.
Wow.
So there's
Okay.
about 5 issues here. So Paper
Yeah.
Girls is about a bunch of paper girls in the 1980s.
Okay.
It's probably been around for maybe about 5 years. It's just come out 5 years. So it's been like it got picked up as I think, not sure if it's HBO or some other TV network
Okay.
streaming site. And so, you know, these paper girls on their bike, BMXs in the 80s, and it's all about like sci-fi, time travel, and
Mm.
you know, the future them, the past them, and all this. And it's I read the first I think 20 issues. I really loved it, and I thought it was really
Yeah.
cool. Then I got the book. Then I was looking up to see if anybody was, you know, if it had been picked up as a series or movie, and I was like, sure enough, it was. And then underneath it, I see an Indian Bollywood movie, and the logo is exactly
Oh
the
no.
same.
Oh
It's the
no.
same name.
Oh
You know,
no.
it's just that I think it's just the S is missing, right? Because this is Paper Girl, not Paper Girls.
Oh,
And I'm like, these guys actually took the logo,
well, that's a
and
shame.
I've actually. Oh, that just reminded me. I forgot it. I've actually had a logo stolen from
Oh,
New Zealand
oh,
in 2007, 2006,
oh,
and so you spend like, and this is the thing about design, right? Because I'm mainly designer, so
mm.
you kind of like, and I've had local artists who've had that art stolen and put on like a Maori artist. Oh gosh, I think it's Vincent. I think it's Vincent DePaul,
Oh, that's
and it and his I think it was like a Chinese company had like manufactured the art onto a t-shirt and was selling for like $50 or something a
oh,
pop.
that how infuriating.
And this is a person who that's his art, you know, like we used to live together and stuff, and we went to art school together. You know, he was in the Maori department, I was in the craft arts, you know, sort of like that. And as well, his art is amazing. So, you know, like having some, you know, you spend your time working on something. That's why, you know,
Oh,
I understand fully. That's why I
mm,
thought like talking about art theft is something that like is more prominent now, because
yeah.
I guess in my one, it was because it was on a t-shirt. It was a logo for my company at the time. And I, you know, someone had seen me wear my hat and go, oh, I was on a TV show production, and that was on it. And I'm like, really? So, and here's the thing. So you've
No.
just come out of film school, no money, and the first thing you see is that, and then you go, how do I fight it? That's
Oh.
$10,000, mate.
Oh my God. Oh, I just got a chill then.
So,
Oh, that's just
yeah, so you
awful.
just
I
hold your
feel
tongue,
so
you know, you just hold your tongue and you keep working, you know, or, you know, or you make people aware that that's your, you know, this is your work, and we're going to be bringing out a superhero with that logo on it, waiting for the day that somebody decides to fight us on it, you know,
oh,
and then
that's
go, well, we have the paperwork, we have design, we have the
mm.
clothing, we have all this.
Suppose
And I
that's a
think that's,
copyright. That's when, yeah, but that's
oh,
expensive
yeah.
to do that, you know, like who can do that? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
at the end of the day, you kind of like go, well, it's easier to let them come to you and prove their case and
yeah.
make
Yeah.
them spend all their
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think if
Yeah.
somebody like, because we live in this, you know, we sort of like everybody wants everything now. They want to have shortcuts to what, to getting the goods. And so like you have someone who sees your work and copies it because they say, oh, it's popular, it will sell, I'll get more money because I'm doing it in my way, I'm adding my little twist to it. And I think, if you can steal something like a logo, just, and that's why Nike and Reebok and all them spend millions of dollars protecting their logo, because they know it's the logo that sells the product. And one of the things I was thinking is like, I'm having like every image you put out of your work, hide something in there that nobody can see,
hide it. Yeah, I have started. That's funny. I do put my artist brand. I haven't I just sign it, even though it's on wood or metal, whatever. I'll paint it on or whatever. Which it can be replicated. Okay, people can copy that too, but it's my sort of way of sort of saying, well, it's authentic. I did it, sort of thing. But I guess, you never. I don't think that can ever. No, we will never ever be able to stop people copying. That's just, unfortunately. So
well, we saw Warhol do it. We saw Warhol do it way back in the 80s and 70s. Making millions of
how many people have copied his work? It's been copied from copies. So that's just that happens. It happens with everything. People, you get a house built and you just change one thing because the plans have been stolen. So that's what happens. It is sad though when it's from a creative, because they say generally all artists are poor. This is how we make our living.
That's why we're poor. Yeah, that's kind of like why we're poor, because everybody's stealing our ideas that we work so hard trying to get to. That's like that's why that artist, who came up with that panel that Warhol stole and made into a big huge thing,
I know,
was still wasn't making a living, kind of thing. And it's talking about that also, you got like, I mean, even most recent, right? You have $1 billion comic book movies. And one of the guys said, I created that version of that character. I didn't even get I got more by being a walk-on on the show than I did for the rights to that work being used in the movie.
Unbelievable.
And it's I think that's why I mean, this is like Disney who protects their logo from being on a kindergarten wall, right? Or characters on kindergarten wall.
Yeah.
But they will take your work and claim it as theirs, not give you any sort of residues for it. Because like you look at a lot of people, I mean, like comics creators are one of the poorest people in the world.
Yeah.
Unless you've got yourself into a cushy executive's job,
really,
or become a owner, with a really strong like contract, like with my, because I work with a lot of different people, I have a very stringent strong contract about what I do and who gets what and why they get it and what where they're at with it and where I stand with it, because I understand myself about ownership, because as an artist I know, and so I don't want to have other people feel ripped off either.
Yes.
And sometimes that may take a while to pay that, or to come around to what you want to do. I mean, like I remember going, okay, this is this, and then going, no, they did a bit more work.
All right.
And okay, now this, and so you kind of like lift up the percentages as you work on it.
Yes, and it's learning.
But when you're working for as your own artist, creating your own work, how do you feel as a sole creator of your work? Do you like especially when you go through selling through like contract with like putting the contract into like with galleries and stuff, and they take a percentage for the sales there? How do you work that into it all?
I hate that's the question that every artist struggles with. It's pricing work, particularly if a gallery is putting taking their commission out of it. It means you have to generally up the price, and to be honest, part of it, yes, we like to sell the work, but I like to make it affordable too, because my house is full of other people's artwork. I buy art as well.
Yeah.
So I'm the other side of it as well, and I love it when I can buy a piece that I've been able to afford. It's not ridiculous. So look, a lot of the time I'm not making a lot of money out of a piece, and sometimes I do. It depends where it's selling, and galleries attract a buyer, so they've got to be compensated for it. And if it means that I'm not making as much, that's fine. It's about finding, as I said before, finding the right buyer for the right piece. And sometimes, you get that little bit of feedback from the gallery saying, they'll tell you the story about the person that's bought a shoe lamp because his mother used to own a shoe shop for many, many years, So that is worth than the monetary side of it, So although I'm paying commission, I'm getting that bit of information, which is invaluable, that you can't put a price on that. That's wonderful. I love that. Love that side of it. But oh my gosh, sometimes I struggle with pricing. It's horrible. I hate it.
I mean, we talked about how some of your smaller pieces actually may take longer. How do you price those? Because we don't like when you're an artist, like creating artwork, you're not working by the hour, because otherwise, if you were,
do you charge
they were
for
priceless.
It would be thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, and I wouldn't sell it.
I was told what my value is at the moment. I was like, we were doing a budget 2 months ago, and I was told my value is $55 an hour.
Oh, okay.
And because of all my, the whole everything, knowledge, the whole skills, and I was like, how many hours do I put into a week? Like 80, maybe 100, and I'm like, okay, 52. That's like $500,000 a year, 250,000. When was the last time I saw that? And that's what I mean. So how do you, and this is the side of things that, like, I guess the the other coin, that the other side of the coin, where people don't see that. So how do you, because you got to source the material.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you got to plan it out.
Yeah.
Even and then work it.
Yeah. It's hard.
What do you think is the right price? Because at the end of the day, you don't know if the person who's buying it is a millionaire, right? Or that person's just got a little, spare cash.
And some
people want a piece.
I've got clients that I think, oh my God, how much will I? Okay, I'll put this price on it, and they've come back to me. It's all online, of course. Yep, that's fine. I'll take it. And then I think, oh, okay, did I sell it at the right price? But you think, hang on a minute. Yep, it comes back to the fact that I've sold it, which is fantastic. And the person can afford it, Then I've got other clients that I work out payment plans for. And you feel bad because you think, and then on the other hand, I've given work away. I've given pieces. I remember there was a lady who bought one owl from me, and I'd photographed it with another one. I thought they made a great pair together, and as I said, building that rapport, you get talking. And she could only afford one, but I didn't tell her. I sent both. It goes beyond sometimes what the monetary value is. So putting a price is one of the biggest challenges. But I have to say, I've got better at it. The longer I've been doing it now, I think no, I'm not undervaluing myself, my work. I'm putting this price on it because, number one, it's worth that. And secondly, because of what it is and the story behind it. And I stick to that, and the pieces sell. So obviously I've got it right. Otherwise, I wouldn't be selling them,
Yeah.
And you've got to keep it mainstream. Once you put a price, particularly if a gallery has got the work, you have to set a benchmark. You can't do the wrong thing by the gallery as well. I know artists that do that, and it is so wrong. You can't undercut other artists and do it's. So it's like the unspoken sort of rule, isn't it? There is etiquette involved. And,
there's like a mutual trust and respect you got to build with whoever you're dealing with. I think once you break that, it is hard to build that up again.
And
that's something that I always like question myself. I have somebody else question, I bounce it off somebody else. I have because of what we do ourselves as a company, who's does a lot, also is prominent, because of our convention in the community. I actually have an assistant who I question what I'm doing about decisions I make. Because it's because there is there's the other side of, as an artist, is what people perceive of your work and what you're doing, what you're putting out there. And one of the things I was thinking about this is like, because you have work in different galleries, are they priced the same throughout the galleries, or are they one-off pieces? Is what I'm thinking. Or are they like, do you do multiple similar pieces?
I do series, and when I do series, they're obviously priced the same at different galleries. But generally, that's the only thing. So I do these hands that I have got 3 sizes, and it's this, and that. So that's the the black and white of it, I guess. But all my other works are, absolutely. But all the other pieces are so randomly unique in different size, shape, and detail, and they, they can range, anywhere from 100 to 2,000, or it depends. But I do try and keep it, as I said, because I've bought art myself, it keeps me grounded. I think it keeps me grounded. And I think, come on, I don't want the piece sitting in my studio. I want it to be in someone's living room where they can enjoy it, and it can be a conversation piece, That's what it's about.
I have a friend who did this artwork here, Critical here. So he's got this unique style, and he sold a whole bunch of, the artwork to people. I mean, this lady that is like almost like a patron to him. She bought like 4 or 5 at the one point.
I love that.
And by seeing him within like 2 year differences, and then the other thing was that he'd been doing it, painting for such a long time, and had grown, because painting is kind of like, because he does big ones, little ones, and stuff. And then I look and I go, it could have been twice that amount.
Really?
But it's just sitting in the. It's just sitting in the shed, man.
It's
just sitting in the studio, and and it's like it's got to go and make me room. It's kind of like that whole, that what is that? A bird, and the hand is worth 2 in the bush, kind of thing.
Absolutely,
So we were talking about earlier about letting go of stuff, and now we're talking about pricing. So how, when you're like, as an artist, you like to buy other people's work, and and value their work as well as them value your work. How do you sort of like decide that, okay, maybe I'll get, because if it's not a gallery piece, it's not going, it's not part of the show or something. It's a part of that setting. It's in the. How do you decide? Well, okay, I will at this rate, because it's outside of that thing, or do go, sorry, this is the way I stick with it because it's what it is.
I'm pretty flexible. And I can remember there was a piece that one of those pieces that I had hanging around because I loved it so much, you know, that I was talking about before. And I thought, oh, I really had to up my numbers in this exhibition. So I thought, oh, I'll put this piece in. Oh, I really don't want to sell it. So maybe I'll just put a ridiculous high price on it and no one will buy it, you know, like, yeah. And so I did, thinking, oh, look, no one, you know, not that it wasn't worth that, you know, but I just thought, okay. And you know what? It sold. So there's no rhyme or reason, is there? There is no, and that was that was a bit of a like that whole watershed moment where I thought, oh my God, you know, people will pay the amount of money people pay for art. If it's something that they fall in love with, they'll pay it. And obviously, you know, as surprised as I was, that person that bought it loved it just as much as me, because and that's what made it easier to let it go, because I thought, you know what, if you're willing to pay that much, you deserve to have that piece, because I know it's a heart purchase. So that did happen once, but generally speaking, I don't do that. I keep it I keep it reachable for people.
Have you had other like galleries buy your work from other galleries and then sell it separate, like again?
That
for
has
a higher
happened.
price?
That has happened, and I was quite inexperienced at the time. That happened in the first year that I was creating, and obviously I didn't put it. My prices weren't high enough because, you know, it was my first time, you know, and I can remember the curator saying to me, "You haven't priced that high enough," and I was like, "Oh, you've got to be joking!" Like, you know, I'm nobody. Nobody's going to be, you know, and and it was barely on the floor, and this a woman bought it, and at the time of the exhibition, I was actually volunteering. So the person approached me who was on duty saying, I'd like to buy that piece. And I said, oh, really? I said, that's my work, you know. And she said, oh, and we had a lovely discussion about it. And she was telling me that she bought it for her gallery. So she was going to put it in her gallery, and I was like, oh, okay. Silly me, I didn't ask all the questions. I was just so taken back, in a good way, though. I was quite flattered, you know, that she snapped it up so quickly. And so since then I've upped my prices, you know, but still keeping it in that nice little package. Yeah.
I was wondering sort of like whether it's like now you would be like, I think I'll just listen to the gallery, you know, curator, the owner, because they have a smarter idea on the clients that go into that, you know, that'll be coming. And this is one of the things that, like myself, like if I like suddenly just put a piece out, people like wouldn't know who the hell I am. But if I build my, you know, profile as such in this universe nowadays, because of, you know, where we're at and in technology and stuff, give me 10, 15 years. Now, if I put a friggin' piece of art out, it'll be worth more than if I put a work out now. Do you see, you know, do you have that sort of sense, like, say, like year 1 to year 6 now, where you think now that, you know, that same piece that you did do now, or the fact that the piece you did then actually has more value now because of your name on it, of, you know, because as it's such, you know, as it happens.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm still that same person. Like I don't consider, because I've been doing it for 6 years and I have got this great clientele base now. I don't look at that as like, oh well, I'm this person now, so therefore I can charge this. You know, it's that's a head thing, whereas the work is a heart thing. So I'm ruled by that, always by the emotions, you know. I guess some people do fall into that. It would be quite easy for people to fall into that, but I think I don't let the ego get into it, you know. That's just, it's not ego driven, and that if that works for you, that's fine. I won't judge, but it's certainly not.
Oh no, I'm like that was something like I thought like way back, like 10 years back, and I like now it's like doesn't even matter. I'm like I'm so tired and working all the time. You don't even have time to think about that. But I'm thinking like, you know, because at the moment, because social media is like, okay, you know, people like got to make a name for myself kind of thing, and then rather than like, it's kind of like, do you actually realize how long artists work on something? And you know, and to do something and then learn the skills. Like even me, I don't even draw. I have other people draw for me. You know? And they do a better job than I do. I just go, this is how I like them to look. Please do that, and they come back to me. Go, no, this change. That looks great. And I'm like, it's. I think the great thing is once again that, you know, let's talk about technology, right? Because, you know, in the sense that 6 years ago to now for yourself, being able to source material and like look up what something is made of or what something needs to be done, like what stitch to use that was used back then, or what parts would work where. Do you search, how much time you spend on searching all this out? You know, for you, because you're saying like you're in the middle of the night, you wake up and you start typing up your ideas. Do you Google for like looks of parts or something like that, or do you think you've arrived at knowing what you know at the moment?
I know what I know, and that's not because I know everything. I don't know anything. It's because I don't search. I don't research, because I don't know. It's in here, and I guess I'm drawing on those early childhood influences in my life, going back to the films, you know, and you know, even though it's there in my head, it's there. It's out there anyway. It's in movies. It's, you know, these days with the whole steampunk thing. So I don't spend time searching, and I think that's, you know, I'd rather have put my hands in and keep trying things. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, because I don't do the research and I don't draw it out and I don't plan it, sometimes I'll try and do this and I think, why is it not working? It's not doing it. You know, it's not, and that's so frustrating. So that's the downside, you know. And then even then I don't go and research. I think the worst. How would it be though if I researched and saw something that someone had done, and I think it'd probably put me off, because I'd probably think, oh, that's like that person's work, you know. That's why I don't use certain platforms to get ideas. And I've got girlfriends that spends so much time on those platforms, and I think, oh my God, look at all your photos on your phone. It's all these other people's work, you know. Doesn't that cloud your? I don't think I could work like that. It just make me think, where's my ideas gone? You know, that's what works for me.
There is a downside of that, like you're saying, where you get lost in seeing other people's work, or you get distraught by seeing other people's work because you think like, it's better. I'm going to have to compete with that.
But then you might get inspired too. You might get inspired as well. You know, I guess I'm not physically looking at Google or using technology, but I'll be out somewhere in a junk shop or an antique shop. I love those places, and I will get the inspiration through something physical. So it's not an image, but it's a piece of, it might be a broken piece of a metal lamp or something that I think, so that's how I get my ideas and inspiration from.
Let's talk, and finishing, let's talk about the doco and how that came about, because we've been,
I know.
I've been having so much fun.
This is my
2 hours
talking the whole time.
And
the doco. So, as I mentioned before, I volunteer at an art gallery, and honestly, I'm so grateful to this community art gallery because it has helped me to grow so much. And I have to say, any artist who is trying to gain that confidence and learn, put yourself out there. There's plenty of volunteer, creative volunteer roles you can do. So that's where it started for me. I volunteer there. I have for the past 3 years. And, I was approached by filmmakers there. And this gallery does not only have exhibitions, it's a creative source for up-and-coming creatives. They offer courses and different mentors, and there's a recording studio, and it is an amazing space. And the filmmaker who worked there approached me and was interested in my story because there is a side, there was a moment in my life when I did hit, and I can't say too much because of the film, but I did hit, there was quite a life-threatening moment that shaped me and put me into a certain chapter, I guess. And that's where I got my inspiration, and that's what the film is about. And it talks about my passion for sustainability and preserving the planet and working with organic materials and incorporating that into my bliss, which is my art. And, I'm very, very honoured to say that it's been picked up by Z5 Network. So it's streaming to over 190 countries and has been shortlisted for the London Film Festival, Melbourne Film Festival, Palm Springs Film Festival, and is being aired at the Atlanta Role Play Theatre in the US. So it's just gone crazy, which is fantastic. We all work so hard on this film, and months and months and months and months of work of me talking and working and filming, and so much goes. I tell you what, it's given me a whole appreciation for filmmakers and actors. Like I could never be an actress. They would say to me, right, we just want you to walk along and just look up, and oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard to act natural when you're told to do it. And the filmmakers cramming into the most tight spots with this equipment to get that shot. I have an utter respect for the craft and what they do. It just opened my eyes. So, fingers crossed that it gets picked up by Doc Edge in New Zealand, because it does feature Oamaru. And that I think it would be great for New Zealand. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy for the exposure, and I'm very, very grateful that I was at the right time at the right place, and that's my whole belief. I'm a great believer in divine timing, and it all worked. So very happy. It's called Steampunk, Judy, and the trailer is on my Facebook page. As far as seeing the actual full version of the film, the moment I'm sort of made aware of any other networks that pick it up, I do post about that. So, if anyone searches my page, they'll get information.
you also have a website. It's judyrogers.com, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, yeah, that's my
Cool.
website.
'Cause
But
I looked at it and I was like,
oh, did you? I don't look.
yeah, I had a quick look at it. It looks really good. It's, I mean,
Oh,
like I didn't, because I
my
was doing
beautiful
a whole bunch of
daughter-in-law.
other stuff, but
I
well,
haven't actually sold work from my website, funnily enough. It's there because I know you need a website these days,
yeah,
but 99.9% of my work is from Facebook. It's amazing, and yeah, I'll take it from wherever the exposure is, but yeah, I would recommend that people search me on Facebook if they want to get a better idea of the volume of my work.
awesome. So what I'm going to do is, in finishing, we'll give you like about 3 minutes to do your piece, and then because you're going to be at Plunge Convention this year, which happened very quickly in the middle of the night. As a special guest cosplayer, I haven't even told my team, so I haven't had a chance to tell my team. So
Okay.
making an executive decision, as they say.
Yay.
So so how about something like come to Plunge Pop Culture Convention. I'll be there and would love to, whatever after that. And on top of that, just your 3 to 5 minutes just of your perspective, your final words.
Okay.
I'll put you on solo. Hold on.
Okay.
I will.
Hi everyone. Look, thank you so much for having me. I've just so enjoyed it. I could just talk forever about all this. So I'd really love to meet people in person. I'm going to be part of Plunge. Yay! I've been invited, and yeah, it did happen very quickly, but I'm really, really excited about that. And I'm going to be working hard on creating a costume so I can get my sewing machine out and put something together. So that's really, really exciting. And I think, one of my biggest message is, and it's through my art, is the importance of recycling and sustainability, because I'm passionate about preserving this wonderful planet that we live in, and just being really, really mindful of the materials that I use in my work, and at the same time bringing forward my inner child, because I've never grown up. I'm just a big kid doing what I have always loved to do, and I'm really grateful for that, and mindful that I'm in a situation where I can work as a full-time artist. So I'm really grateful. And if anyone wants to, bit of a plug for the film, Steampunk Judy, just visit my page and I will have updates about where it's streaming. And that's always changing because, as I said, it's being submitted for certain film festivals, which is really exciting. And basically that's it. I just would, like to also say that art is more important now than what it's ever been, I think, with what's happening in the world. And I live in a bubble. I was in a bubble before there was one, because I don't like to impact that negativity to impact. So I'm just saying, be mindful of having beautiful things around you, and if that means buying art or going to visit art galleries and appreciating other people's art, surround yourself with it and soak it all in, because that's what it's about. And that's my message. So thank you, and I'll say goodbye.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Judy. And it's been a pleasure meeting you and talking to you for the first time ever.
Thank you.
And I just love, meeting other creative people and talking.
Yes, same.
Because I get to experience and remember things that I'd forgotten myself. And and so thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And yeah, I hope wherever everybody is, wherever you are watching, thank you for joining us. And I know it's a Friday here for us, and for Marie, it's a Thursday in the Northern Hemisphere, and you probably are working or busy doing stuff. But this will be out tomorrow and over the weekend online, and it'll be here. And so wherever you are, be well, be safe. Ka kite ano, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Judy.